Sounds on. Okay, for the recording, welcome back. We are ACI course 5, class 4, June 16th, 2024. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you, just by way of your thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it would be if we could also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they would go on to stop their distress forever. We are learning that this is possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. Then turn your mind back to that precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know. what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every other. So again, source of all my good, to remind us why we're here. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to them in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow them with all my strength and reverence. Bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I have found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddha's teachings. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen in too. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I am not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together. One which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I have practiced well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I have entered thus, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. Bless me next to realize the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the holy ones have spoken, putting all my effort in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times, highest that there is. Bless me, grant me, that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions in this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, things within me and outside me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. Why am I reading that before every class? Because most of it is about morality. And morality is the conclusion when we understand the details of karma and how karma works. So there's a reason. Now, last class, we learned the definition of virtue and the definition of non-virtue, and then the definition of neutral karma, if there really is such a thing. And the definition of non-virtue is anything that brings a karmic result which is unpleasant, right? Undesirable, unpleasant experience. Simple as that. No short-term, long-term. For a virtue, the definition had those 2 parts. In the short term, it's something which gives us a pleasurable result and ultimately protects us from suffering by bringing us to nirvana. And so we had that discussion. It's like, well, then does just any old kindness, is just any old kindness a virtue? And we came to that conclusion that no, it's not. And so does that mean kindness is a non-virtue? Kindness done mistakenly is really a non-virtue? You know, you wouldn't say that to people if they were really early on their path. But the implication is, you know, any unpleasant experience we have, it's a result of some deed that we did, technically kind or unkind, but that we did with the state of mind that believed that the me doing it has my own nature, the what I'm doing has its own nature, and who I'm doing it to, what I'm doing it to has its own nature. So if that's the case, have we ever, if you're not Arya or better, have you ever done a virtue? According to this definition, no. But the lamas are so kind. We're trying to do those kindnesses from this different perspective. And so, yeah, you've done virtue. It's okay, right? Yes, rejoice in your virtues. But if we were really going to pin ourselves down, it takes some work to shift a plain old kindness into a kindness that's going to bring us a result of reaching nirvana, not just a pleasant experience that wears out. Stuff to think about. Then the neutral karma was that which gives a result which is other than those two. If you get a result that's neither pleasant, that leads you to nirvana eventually, nor unpleasant, whether obviously unpleasant or the pleasantness that wears out unpleasant or the pervasive unpleasantness, that if there's such a thing as other than that, that would be neutral karma. The school believes there is neutral karma. So does Mind Only School. I'm not so sure about the other two. All right. So then we talked about those 5 things that are virtue. And within those 5 things, the last 2 were 2 mental functions that are considered virtuous. And the Tibetan words were notsa and tralyu. And your question was, give the Tibetan word for shame and consideration and explain them. So notsa is the term that they use the word shame as the English translation. I prefer personal integrity because what that state of mind is, that it's the state of mind that makes us avoid doing a harmful deed, regardless of whether anybody else would know anything about it. So just the fact that I would know that I did that deed was enough for me to go, no, I won't do that deed, right? Personal integrity. They call it shame. Trelya is the state of mind that prevents us from doing a harmful deed because of our consideration for its impact on someone else. Whether our consideration is, they'll think ill of me, that's all right. That's a consideration that will make you not do the deed, all the way up to being a consideration for how it might influence their own choices of behavior later if they see me do it, right? To what extent does our personal responsibility expand in this state of mind of trelya, consideration? We all have already certain amounts of notsa and trelya because we all have certain, behavior rules about our behavior choices that we already follow for whatever reason we follow them. So we're considering, if somebody else sees me do this, does that make me not do it? If nobody else sees me do it, do I still have something that says no? And at what point, right? What crosses that line? That's these 2 states of mind. When we're deciding about a deed to do, these 2 states of mind are present in our decision making. And it helps for them to be more wisely present, more intentionally present, and wisely present in the sense of why we're wanting to have those high level of personal integrity and consideration for others, because it's going to help us choose the seeds that we're going to plant that's gonna make the future for everybody. I just skipped schools there, but. So then. Your last quiz question was name the top 10 non-virtue deeds grouped by the 3 gateways. And what might be the top 10 good deeds then? That we didn't talk about in class. It isn't in the reading. If we apply our understanding of what we've learned so far, it would be, what's the opposite of the non-virtue? And there's a wide range of what could be the opposite there. So there are 3 basic non-virtues that we do through our physical actions. And Natty, I'll bet you know those 3, right?
Yes.
Not because you've done them, but because you've studied them.
Yes. Not killing, not stealing, and not sexual misconduct.
So you're saying the non-virtue is not killing?
And no, it doesn't. Yeah, non-virtues. Yes. No.
All right, no. The non-virtue is
Killing. Yes.
stealing,
Okay. Yes.
sexual misconduct.
The other way is around. Okay.
So
yes.
now what would the virtue be?
The virtue is saving life.
Yeah, which is a little different than not killing, right? It's one thing to not kill. It's another thing to protect life. It's another thing to flat out save a life. How many opportunities do we get to flat out save a life? You know, how many times have you seen somebody floating down the river that you could jump in and grab them? You know, maybe for most of us, it won't ever happen like that. But do we save a life when we step over the line of ants walking along yeah, we do, right? We could have ignored it and stepped right through them or on top of them. Or we could go, oh, land of ants, I won't step on them. That's protecting life. What about making a full-on stop behind the limit line of the stop sign? That's protecting life as well, right? Yours, any pedestrians, any oncoming car. And we just think, you know, I stop at this stop sign. But we're protecting life a lot more than we know. We want to bring it up a little more consciously, to be actively practicing the opposite of the non-virtue, because we do or have done the non-virtue so much. And in doing its opposite, not only are we avoiding more of it, but we're planting seeds that are negating it, right? Opposites. Nice. So not killing, not stealing. The opposite of not stealing would be
Stealing. Destroying property for somebody else's property.
Yeah. So the opposite would be protecting others' property.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Being so safe that somebody would leave their, you know, $10,000 computer in your care, and they know that you won't run off with it, you won't pawn it, you won't use it, you won't break it, right? You'll take care of it. Not sexual misconduct. Honoring other partnerships, not just sexual partnerships, but, you know, the other company has this employee you really, really like, and you really, really want them to come work for your company. And so, you know, I'm going to find a way for that employee to come to my company. I'm splitting up a partnership in doing so. It's like, well, then I never get to hire the best employees. No, by not stealing that one away from your competitor, you will get the best employees. You will get better employees than that one was ever going to be. The next week, maybe, maybe not, but eventually, because you honored and protected someone else's partnership, relationship, your partnerships, your relationships will work, will function. Any kind of relationship, any kind of partnership. Then there are four of speech. Who would like to give us the four non-virtues that we do through our speech?
Lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle speech.
Right. And what would be the opposite of those, do you figure?
Speak truthfully. Harmony speech bring people together.
Right.
And gentle speech and meaningful speech.
Right. It seems like we wouldn't have much to say if we really followed these, would we? There's a goofy movie called The Invention of Lying. And it's about a world where people couldn't lie. There was like no such thing as lying. And it ends up not being what one would think, but in fact, everybody just says what pops into their mind at the moment. They're like totally uninhibited, no social boundaries at all. They just say what's on their mind. And it's awful. It's like one person says to the other person, that dress looks terrible on you. And the one who hears it, just takes it in stride because you just expect people to, tell you good stuff. And it's just an awful, awful thing. And then somebody just like hit by some kind of radiation from somewhere, he tells a lie at the bank. He says he has money in the bank with it he didn't have. And the teller is like, okay, my computer's down, but if you say you've got $800, all right. She gives him $800. And it's like, bing, his brain changes. And he realizes that he can make up stuff and people will believe him. And then, of course, it goes haywire and he gets into all kinds of trouble. And it's a very quirky movie, but it's something to think about. Can we really be 100% truthful and still be kind? There's a big art to it. All right, then we have three of mind. I thought Allie was unmuting herself, but she took away her video. Claire, the three of mind, please.
Yeah, the first one is craving. So when we want something that someone else is getting, so it's like jealousy. And the good one is when we are happy when someone is receiving something nice. The second one is ill will, when we wish something bad happen to others, and the opposite is when we are feeling compassion to others when they are in trouble. And the last one is about wrong views. It's like thinking that things are coming from their own side, or thinking, and the good one means correct view. So it means that things do not have their own nature.
Okay. The first of the 10 non-virtues is coveting, not craving. Craving is one of our main mental afflictions, but the term coveting is a little different than craving. And jealousy is a better, more modern term, although it's technically a little bit different than what's meant by coveting. It gives a better connotation of this state of mind that we must have often for it to qualify for the top 10 is being a little unhappy when somebody else gets something that we think we deserve. And then you're right, the opposite of that is being happy for others' successes. Whether we want that success or not, being happy for others. And it's amazingly difficult to do for a lot of us, to be happy for somebody else doing better than we are. Then ill will, exactly, being happy when others get some misfortune. And usually that's related to others that we don't like. And we gloat a little bit, all the way to full out willing to harm them because they hurt me, right? Vengeance, revenge. And then the third one, wrong view. Wrong view does mean believing things have their own natures. But here as one of the top 10s, the wrong view is not believing that our behavior brings us personal consequences. And it's a little funny because we all do believe that our behavior brings us consequences. We just think the consequence it brings is the immediate next thing, right? I cook lunch so I can eat lunch. And I think my action of making lunch made the lunch that was there for me to eat. So it's funny, it's like Lokta would be not believing that, which seems more like correct view. The lunch I just made that I'm now sitting down to eat did not in fact come from the lunch I just made. The lunch I just made came from having made lunch for somebody else, which means now the lunch I just made can be fed to me. And if I don't share it or at least offer it, there'll be a time when there's no lunch for me to make. So, but technically, this Lokta is, I don't believe that my deeds in fact create my future experience. It's funny, our ignorance is so weird, right? We don't understand accurately how our deeds create our future. That's Lokta. Because we choose deeds to get what we want, and we choose the wrong deeds to get what we want. And the problem is, most of the time it seems to work. And on the few times it doesn't work, we just make some reason for why it didn't work, instead of thinking, now wait a minute, turning the key in the car can't really be the cause of starting the car if one time in 200,000 it doesn't work. Lokta still believes that turning the key starts the car, but doesn't believe that it was giving rides to somebody else that makes turning the key start the car. See, Lokta is subtle. But it's that personal responsibility for the creation of my experience. To not believe that that's the case is Lokta for the 10 non-virtues. So the opposite is this correct view that knows my deeds now are creating the circumstances of my future without any exception. Correct view. But there's so much more to correct view as we are learning. Okay, so all of this is about what is meant by the term karma. And what is meant by the term karma? Movement of the mind and what it motivates me to say and do. Then we said some of those things that I'm motivated to do are virtuous and some are non-virtuous. And we determined that whether the deed is virtuous or non-virtuous is not determined by the deed. It's determined by the result that I get from the deed, which I don't get until a long time after I did the deed. Like maybe so long after I did the deed that I don't even remember having done the deed. In which case I think I'm getting these experiences from something else. Something that I think I can immediately see, like the boss yelling at me is making this unpleasant feeling. When in fact that can't be true, we'll learn how to come to that conclusion. So we want to know all the fine details about the workings of this thing, movement of the mind, and what it motivates, so that we can have more and more information at our disposal to help us make wiser choices, until we can experience directly the direct cause result relationship between our experiences. That won't happen until we're omniscient. Okay. And how am I gonna see myself as omniscient? I've got to clean out my karma, right? Purify and make merit. So I want to learn as much as I can about these details of the workings of karma. So tonight's class is about karmic consequences, and all these details about how to think about karmic results. So consequences and results, we're using those terms synonymously. The consequence of a deed means the result we get. So there's a bunch of different ways to consider karmic results, like to think of them. Not meaning this deed brings that result, we'll get to that part. But all these different factors in the consideration about karmic results. So that's where my vocabulary needs to come in here. Okay, I don't have all of you on my screen, but most of you. So one thing we need to know about karmic consequences is the time period within which they can occur. And we've already heard this once, but we get it in a little bit more detail. So Tong Yurkile means lay karma, which we see. Tong here is to see, same as path of seeing, Tonglam. But Tong Yurkile means karma whose result we will see. What that means is there are certain deeds that we can do in this life that we will actually receive the karmic result of that deed within this same life. That is possible. It's the basis of the Diamond Way teachings, how to make karmic seeds so powerfully that they cook and ripen, finish their cooking within this very lifetime. Second category of time frame in which karmas can ripen is Kene Nyongyurkile, Kene I've never seen this as one word, although it's clearly that in my notes, but I'm gonna separate it because that looks more familiar. Kene yongyur kile. This means, kene means after we're born. And yongyur means to experience. So the karma we experience after we're born, but it means in our very next life. So say we did some deed in our immediately previous life, and we did it with certain characteristics, qualities involved. And so that seed or series of seed is such that it actually ripens in this lifetime. So probably some of, maybe much of what we've experienced in this lifetime is from seeds from our immediately previous. How can we know? We can't know. As ordinary suffering beings, we can't know. But to understand this principle, it's like, oh, then there are seeds that I can do in this lifetime that will influence my immediate next one. It's like bringing our behavior a little bit closer to, I don't know, increasing our motivation a bit. We can influence our next lifetime by what we do in this life. Then the third one is Len Drang Shenla Nyongyur Kile, karma which we experience in any other life than the very next one. So karmas that we do now may not ripen at all in our next life, immediate next life, but they will ripen in some lifetime after that one. Which means results that we're experiencing in this lifetime could be from any previous lifetime that we've ever had before. It's like covering all the bases. Is there anything else than this lifetime, the one immediately before, or any of the others? Is there any other place that karmic results can be planted? No, that covers all possibilities of me. Why is it important? Mostly in the sense of showing us that it's through our own personal behavior that our future circumstances are created. Right? We already showed ourselves there's no creator being who's saying, you will do this, you will do that. But there's nothing at all. There is this process that we're learning about. The better we get at using that process intentionally, the more creatively we can interact with others in a way that will bring us future experiences that are pleasant in the short run and protecting us from suffering by bringing us to nirvana in the long run. And then you add our Mahayana aspiration. It's not just nirvana that they bring us to, it's full on Buddhahood, that state where we help everybody do the same. So the 3 time frames that karmic results can ripen is the first little encyclopedia piece that you stick in your knowledge base. Now there's another way of thinking about karma and its ripenings, its results, is that there are 4 kinds of karma that must ripen. Now, we haven't even gotten to the 4 laws of karma yet, but I think we all have heard them, know them. And one of the laws, the 4th law, is that a deed done must give a result. And so it seems funny that they say there are 4 kinds of karma which must ripen, because it implies that there are other kinds of karma that don't must ripen. And yet one of the laws of karma is every karma is gonna ripen eventually, and it's not contradictory. It's more in the sense of there are karmas that we do, deeds that we do, that plant seeds in our minds that are less distinctly planted, such that other deeds that we do, you know, shift them, change them, maybe even keep them suppressed, so that that original deed that I'm talking about never actually gains enough power to get over the threshold into its ripening result. They call it, they stay latent, which doesn't mean there's something in them that keeps them latent, keep them protective. It just means that they're not being added to, they're being subtracted from, they never get over the threshold. There are some deeds that we do that are such strongly planted seeds that it's almost like you can't do anything to keep those seeds latent. They are gonna ripen. Now, later on, we're gonna find, you can always do the 4 powers. And so we're not talking about applying the 4 powers. You can't do that to these 4 kinds of karma. These are deeds that they're done with such strength that the seed is like full and complete. And Geshe says hard, although that isn't quite the right connotation, that they are going to ripen in one of those 3 timeframes, right? So not necessarily in this lifetime, but such that they're not gonna just go latent. There are 4 kinds. So, sorry. Here they are. The first one's called Shuk Drakpo. Shuk means force and Drakpo means fierce. So a deed done with really fierce force makes that imprint so strong that it's one that can't be inadvertently softened such that it won't ripen. Yes, we can still do intentional purification, but without that, that seed is so strongly planted that it's gonna bring a result. The Shuk Drakpo means a really, really strong emotion, whether that strong emotion is a positive one or a negative one. It's the strength of the emotion while we're doing the deed that makes the seed planted so powerful that it gets into this category of a deed done that must ripen. Like, you find the anthill of the ants that are coming into your kitchen, and you've tried everything to deter those ants, and they still keep coming into the kitchen. And it's like, okay, I draw the line. I found their anthill. I'm going to pour that poison down the anthill, and I know I'm right to do it because that's what's going to stop those ants from coming in my kitchen. Like, it's like I'm just sure and determined, and I'm doing it with this strong intention. All of those factors make that deed a really strong imprint. So we're going to see all these factors come up later. It's the strength of the emotion. Positively, it would be, say your neighbor has searched out the anthill and is ready to pour the poison down there. And you're like, no, 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 you can't do that. It will just hurt you and it won't stop the ants. And please, let's find another way to help get your kitchen be clean. We can't kill all those ants, right? Strong emotion. Planting those seeds. Make those deeds, that karmic deed, a deed that will ripen. It can't inadvertently become latent. Second one, Yongten Gishi. Yongten Gishi. She means basis here. So Yongten means good qualities. So this is saying deeds committed towards a basis that has good qualities, meaning the object towards whom you are doing your deed has these really good qualities. We call it a powerful karmic object. And here in Yunten, they say specifically a deed committed towards a very holy object like the 3 jewels. Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, Sangha jewel, which, we've studied the 3 jewels. Recalling that anyone who is Arya is 2 of those 3 jewels. So we might very well have a physical being that we interact with who is at least 2 of the 3 jewels. And then how do we interact with the Buddha jewel? Hard to say we're interacting directly, but we could say we're interacting indirectly all the time. Deeds done towards a high holy object are deeds that are so powerfully imprinted that those seeds will not go latent. Third one, Gyun Chaksu. Gyun Chaksu means over and over again. So they say a deed done repeatedly strengthens it. So, you give the dollar to the guy on the street, and the next day there he is again, you give another dollar, the next day another dollar, next day another dollar. Each of those is a seed, but their similarity means they're adding to each other. And so the seed is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So repeatedly done deeds are deeds that won't just go latent. And then the 4th one is Pamasupa. Pamasupa means killing father, mother. So these others were sort of non-specific deeds. This one's very specific. To kill one's mother or father is a powerfully planted seed that won't just go latent, right? It's going to give us a result because of the power of the karmic object. So you could say it should fall under the Yunten Shi Gishi category, but they separate it out. I don't know, maybe because in the past we must have done it. And the scripture says it killing mother, killing father, intentionally, accidentally, or even thinking we're helping them in some way by doing so. And it can rub us a little raw, because we live in a society where if anybody is hooked up to life support and they're not expected to live, and our perception is we're just prolonging their suffering, let's unplug them and let them go. This tradition would say you're you don't know if where their mind's going to go next is going to be better or worse. At least if they're still in the human world, or appear to be anyway, they're burning off karmas and right, and that we don't know if by stopping their life support we're sending them to a better place or not. So they say it with mother, father in particular, because they are the ones that gave us this body, this human body, with which we can get enlightened in this lifetime, that they are in particular such powerful karmic objects that no matter what, you want to help them sustain life. And it's a tricky, tricky concept. Again, don't think of, oh, Buddhism says you can't unplug somebody. Buddhism says we will reap the consequence of unplugging somebody. And we make our decision based on that. It's one of those seeds that won't just go latent. Okay. Another classification of karma, like meaning things to know about karma, is there are two factors that help us make karma ripen in this lifetime. That's something we'd want to know, because we want to use it to avoid making negative karma that could ripen in this lifetime. And we want to use it to make virtue karma to ripen in this lifetime. Thank you very much. So these two factors are Shinki Kepar. Shing means the object, and Kepar means distinctive. So to do our deeds towards a distinctive object, it's the similar idea to Ma and Pa being powerful karmic objects. It's a similar idea to the Yuntin good qualities in the being or the object. It's the same idea here. If the object towards whom we're doing our deed is a powerful enough karmic object, that's one of the factors that goes into making seeds that are strong enough that they will like outgrow other seeds and ripen within this lifetime. The story Geshe-la shared was from one of Shakyamuni Buddha's previous lifetimes, not Buddha yet, lifetime, where he was a monk in a monastery, during which time a schism occurred within the monastery, which is a really serious thing. And another monk was able to go to everybody and patch up the schism. And this monk, Buddha, not yet Buddha, he got jealous of the monk that patched everybody up. And he did or said something that insulted that monk. And because of that deed, because the monk was such a powerful karmic object, because he brought he removed the schism, brought those people back together, that powerful goodness made it such that the guy who insulted the one who solved the problem took birth in the hell realms for 400 some odd lifetimes, says the reading. And it says he goes on to take 400 more lifetimes as a woman. And it's like, sorry, ladies, when you read that, right? It really is derogatory and insulting. And so, you know, Lady Tara, she got told the same thing. I think you know this story. You know, honey, pray for a next life as a man and you can get enlightened in that lifetime. And she goes, you know what, honey? I'll show you. And, you know, she does it in a woman's body. So don't take offense. It was the time frame when women were not thought, right, highly of. You know, they were everybody's mothers, but you get it. So anyway, it was quite derogatory to say 400 lifetimes as a woman because they're so limited. Anyway, the point is, don't insult a high karmic object if you're intending to make progress on your path in this life or next ones. So now we want to know what makes things a powerful karmic object then, so we can either find them or and avoid doing unkind to them, do service, right? Serve them. And the things that make an object distinctive is how much have they or it benefited you? How much do they or it benefit others? And thirdly, how many others can they benefit? So within that category, you know, we have parents benefited us by just giving us this body, regardless of what else they did or didn't do. We have those who have loved and nurtured us and taught us and helped us, whether they were parents or not. We have all of our teachers, the one that taught you to tie your shoes, right? To tell time, to read, right? To play tennis, whatever. People have taught us things. They are all on some level of higher karmic object than Joe Blow on the street because of how they've benefited us. And then of those people that benefit others. So us and others. And then us and others, a lot of others, versus just a few others, increases the power of the karmic object, you see? So they give us a list, kind of in order of strength: father, mother, lama, Arya, Arhat, Buddha. In terms of distinctive objects. You could add in there temple, Dharma center, stupa, monastery. All right. Two things make karma ripen in this lifetime towards a distinctive object. That was all the distinctive object. The second is Sampe Kepar. No, wait, let's take a break. Sorry. 4 minutes past break time. We'll do break. I'm gonna stop share. Towards a distinctive object. And the second is Sampe Kepar, which means deeds done through under the influence of distinctive or extraordinary sampe, which is thought. So deeds done with this under the influence of some distinctive thought. And I don't think this means one or the other. It means deeds done with both of these. Distinctive thought towards distinctive object is the factor that makes seeds strong enough that they can ripen in the same lifetime. So the distinctive thought means under the influence of a really strong motivation. Strong motivation. But we can have a strong negative motivation.
Omar,
Heaven
¿cómo
forbid.
puedo conectar mis audífonos? ¿Mis audífonos me ayudan?
Heaven forbid we ever would, but we could have really, really strong motivation towards a distinctive object and do a deed that's negative, that's powerful enough that it ripens within this lifetime. Conversely, we can have a strong positive motivation with which we do a deed towards a distinctive object, such that that seed can be one that will ripen in this lifetime. And as I said before, that's the basis of the secret teachings, the Diamond Way teachings, how to cultivate this strong motivation and this clear vision of the distinctive nature of the objects towards whom you are interacting. So Geshe-la gave this example here from the scripture, and I think it's in the reading, that back in ancient times, the kings would have castrated men serve as guards of their harems, because there would be no worry that there could be any hanky-panky by the guard, but you still had a male guard overlooking all the queens. So they call, the castrated male was called a eunuch. And so apparently there was this eunuch who belonged to the king, who saw 500 calves being led to be castrated. And he had such compassion for those calves that he went and bought them before they got castrated and let them loose somewhere. And as a result of that powerful deed of compassion and kindness, his organ grew back, is the story. And it's like, really? And if we're thinking, human, it's like, come on, that's got to be just a story. But if we're understanding karma and emptiness from a higher school, it's like karma shifts. You wake up one day and you've got them back again, because of the power of the goodness. Now, was it just because he was protecting 500 cattle? Probably he was seeing those cattle in a higher way than as the baby calves that I would see, that made those seeds strong enough for him to get that kind of result within that lifetime. But there it is in the scripture. And if we've proven to ourselves that the scriptural authority, then it's like, okay, if I don't understand this or I don't believe it, it's because something I'm not understanding, and I'll keep cooking it. It's in that category for me. Powerful objects and powerful motivation is the bottom line here. Doing our deeds towards powerful objects with powerful motivation. We can use that to set about to create a future that we want to see. It works for virtuous deeds and it works for non-virtuous deeds. So we don't want to do it with non-virtuous deeds. We don't want to act highly motivatedly from a mental affliction towards a distinctive object. We want to wait till our mental affliction calms down before we do something. Because otherwise we're planting the seed with this strong motivation towards a strong object, right? Don't interact with your parents when you're mad. Buy yourself some time. Okay. Ooh. So now there are 4 examples of powerful objects that will cause karmic results to ripen in this lifetime. I don't have any Tibetan for this one. A powerful karmic object is somebody who's just come out of what's called a cessation meditation for the first time. A cessation meditation is a meditation where the mind is almost shut down, but it closely resembles nirvana. And a person who's just had a meditative session in which they were so close to nirvana, when they come out of that meditation session, they are this powerful karmic object, and a deed we do towards them will be one of those deeds that will ripen in this lifetime. How do you know if somebody's just come out of a cessation meditation for the first time? Like, I don't really understand. These are one of those teachings I've got on the shelf because I don't know. But then one of the conclusions from I don't know is, well, why not consider anybody who's just come out of meditation as having been in that one? I don't know that they weren't. So I'm going to interact with them in some kind way, just in case. And I tell this story on, my husband, David, we were in the position of like scheduling people's retreats and probably the ones that are there when they needed some help and ones that were there when they came out of retreat. And David was mostly up in that part of the property more than I was. And there were folks that were in retreat that, I personally know that my husband didn't think so highly of these people, but he came to me one time and he said, so-and-so just got out of retreat and I saw him and I hit the ground in front of him because he just came out of retreat and I knew he was a high karmic object. And it so startled the kid, that here David was seen as dad, right? Dad is bowing at kids' feet. That the kid interacted with David differently after that. And I was so impressed, because I don't think I would have had the presence of mind to do so, right? I would have said, hi, how was your retreat? But David hit the dirt. And it's this idea, just in case, that kid had been in cessation meditation for the first time. David's prostration, right, is this really powerful seed that he planted. The second one, someone who's just come out of a meditation called immeasurable love for the first time. Immeasurable love, it's not quite the same as meditating on the 4 immeasurables. This is a a deep state of meditation that approximates one of the different levels of path of habituation, a meditation that approximates that, and someone who's just come out of that meditation also is so close to their nirvana or Buddhahood, depending on their path, that they become a high karmic object. But again, how am I going to know? The third one is someone who's just come out of the path of seeing. You know, that one we understand a little better, but again, how are we going to know? And lastly, someone who's just become an arhat, just ended all their mental afflictions and seeds for more because of having seen emptiness directly and used what they learned to stop planting new mental afflictions and damaging the ones they already have and creating the seeds for no more suffering. You don't put it in the mix. For how to use that one. Then there are 4 more things that make an object of action special. One is a higher form of life is a more powerful karmic object than a lower form of life. And what they mean by higher or lower is a higher form of life is a form of life that's more likely to reach enlightenment in that lifetime. So this tradition says that the state of having a human body, you have all 6 things needed, that if you are properly trained and properly practiced, those 6 things are what can be transformed into your 4 bodies of your Buddha. And so any human has that capacity. Do they have the circumstances? Maybe, maybe not. But non-human don't have those 6 things needed. So humans, by way of having those 6 factors, they are necessarily a more powerful karmic object than a non-human. Second factor, a being who is in serious suffering is a more powerful karmic object than a being in less serious suffering. Now, you know, we're all in serious suffering if we're samsaric beings, but some are trapped, you know, under an automobile. They're in urgent, serious suffering. Some are, you know, life is, they have everything that they need. Their obvious suffering is not so great. You could make a debate they're in worse suffering than the other guy, because they're not going to want to find some other way. But it's this perception of the seriousness of the suffering. So then, you know, you might have a human that you could help, or this starving dog that you can help. Which one's the more powerful karmic object? This one's in need at the moment. This one's closer to enlightenment. No matter what you do for the starving dog, they're not going to reach enlightenment in this lifetime. Human, possible. And like, I've lost students to ACI from this teaching on giving to a human is more powerful than giving to an animal, no matter what. But that doesn't mean ignore animals and just deal with humans. It does not mean that. All of these are factors that we use in our creation of our future. Of course, we want to take care of animals. We're not limited to one or the other. Okay, so higher form of life, a being who's in serious suffering. Third one, someone who has given us great assistance in the past. And fourth one, a special object due to possessing high spiritual qualities. So these are all like a synopsis of what we heard before, but all things to consider when we're making our choices of interacting with other beings, as if we're limited in some way and we have to choose this one over that one. These are things that we can consider for planting our seeds in a powerful way. We aren't really ever completely limited in that way. We can help them all. But realizing that the seeds planted by giving the crumb of bread to the bird versus the crumb of bread to a Buddha, the results are going to be different. All right. So next, Geshe Michael shifted over to Jetson Kappa's Lamrim Chenmo for an explanation of what are called the 3 karmic results. But we're going to see it really is more than 3. Jetson Kappa went through all the scriptures to gather everything that he could about every topic that he studied. And so in his Lamrim Chenmo, it's like this encyclopedia of everything we need to know. So he gives us this explanation called the 3 karmic results. And one of them we've heard before. What's the matter with me? Where did that go? Here it is. Namin. We've had that word before, namin. Do you remember? It meant the rice is cooked. The cooked result of our past karmic deed is its namin result. Ripening result, it's called. Now, here, the term is being used very specifically. No, not so specifically. It's being used in this general category of how deeds done in certain ways will ripen upon us. So the ripening results of any deed is influenced by the strength of our emotion at the time of the deed. It's influenced by what our motivation was at the time of the deed. And it's influenced by what the actual deed was. Now, when he's talking about the namin as the result, he means that for any of the 10 non-virtues, or technically for their virtues as well, a deed done with a really strong emotion, with a strong intention for the result, and then actually carrying it out, and then towards some level of strong karmic object, those 4 factors make that deed such that if it's the karma that ripens at the moment of death, if it becomes your projecting karma, it will send you to a hell realm. So the example Geshe-la gives is for an act of killing, a big bad deed of killing will send its numen, its ripening result will be a hell realm rebirth. Because what it means to be a big bad deed of killing is that you had this strong negative emotion towards the thing that you kill. You have the strong motivation that you want to kill it, and you do kill it, and it was some level of strong karmic object. And then, you know, all the little details of all of that, you have those seeds planted too, but the main thing is that that deed will push your mind into seeing itself as a hell realm being in the future. It would be the same for a big bad deed of lying or a big bad deed of divisiveness or of stealing. Any of the non-virtues done in this really strong emotion, strong intention, do it, and karmic object will send you to a hell realm. Then the second category of numen is a medium bad deed. So with this one, your emotions about it are medium, and your intention is medium, and the object is medium, which is kind of funny. How do we decide? And the ripening result then is a craving spirit realm. Let me do the third one too, and then maybe it will become a little bit more clear. The third one is called a lesser bad deed. A lesser bad deed would be, for instance, killing by accident. You know, you had no emotion about it. You had no motivation to kill, but you saw yourself kill something by accident. And if that seed is the projecting karma, it sends you to an animal realm because of the mindlessness involved when we were planting that seed. So really, really strong negative. If it's the projecting karma, it ends up as hell realm. The circumstances of the hell realm will be unique according to other factors. A medium bad deed would be, you know, you're not setting out to kill something. It's not a powerful karmic object, but you see yourself like it would be the anthill thing, justifying killing the anthill because everybody wants a clean kitchen and ants are dirty kitchens. And, you know, I don't really want to do this, but in order to make everybody else happy, okay, you know, I'll kill these ants. That kind of medium bad deed lands us in a hungry ghost realm, a realm where we can't get our needs met. So it's interesting to think of that correlation. Hell realm, hungry ghost, animal realm. Now, so Lama Tsongkhapa says, if at the moment of death, your projecting karma is not any one of these three kinds. And in fact, your projecting karma actually projects you into another human rebirth. Then karmic seeds ripen in one of these other ways. And these other ways are Gyunten, Jepa, and Drak Dre. Gyunten means corresponding results. So if you manage to get another human life, then we want to know about how our seeds are going to fill in the details of the circumstances of that human life and the experiences that we have throughout that experience life. And one of those ripening factors is called the corresponding result. But in the homework and answer key, he shifts the word to consistent result. So that means that there will be a similarity between what we did to plant the seed and the experience that we experience as a result of that seed. A very personal experience that's consistent with or similar to the deed that we did that made the cause for that result that we're experiencing, right? We're on the side of doing the experiencing. And we're complaining, why do my knees hurt when I help others exercise all the time and now my knees hurt? That's not fair. It doesn't work like that. And I'm not thinking, whoa, I guess I overworked others before. Didn't just help them exercise. I made them bend and squat and hurt their knees. And so we're going from experience and looking backwards. Why? What's the point of that? First of all, so we know what we're burning off. And second of all, so that we know to do the opposite. Now, okay, so in the corresponding, also known as consistent result, there are two. There's the nyongwa, the experience, meaning we get a similar experience to what we did. And number two, there's the corresponding result. This is a little confusing. Meaning that the the corresponding result, it's the specifics of experiencing similar to what it was that we did. So these are just two different ways of explaining that we experienced something similar to what we did that created the cause. The gyuntun and the nyongwa. So for example, for an act of killing, the consistent result, the experience that comes back to us is that our life would be cut short. They say, or we find ourselves getting sick a lot. Then the second factor here is jepa, which means we have the habit. We have the similar habit of repeating that deed that we're experiencing, right? We did a deed, we did deeds in our past life. In this life, one of the results of that is we have the habit for doing that more. So maybe we're not yet getting the experiential result back. Say we're being a person who killed a lot, and somehow we managed to get another human life. And in that human life, as a little kid, we're one of those little kids that likes to go around, pulling the wings off butterflies and, slingshotting birds. And right, just that's our habit. And we have not yet ripened the result of being sick a lot or getting our life cut short. We just have the habit of doing that deed more. Same could be for the opposite, goodnesses, right? You could be the kid from the person before that shared and shared and shared and shared. And then you're one of those little kids where every time you get a cupcake, you go give it to somebody. There are little kids that do that. Same idea. The habit ripens. Mm. With these two ideas, we can identify what we've been like before, right? Looking at our current personality and circumstances, we can kind of look back and go, oh, you know, I was like this, and this. Find the good things. And when you get in a bind about some mental affliction situation that you can't figure out from this life, then look into a past life and go, oh man, okay, I was the jerk that did that. And recognize that you're not the jerk that does that in this life anymore, and hooray for that. Let's burn it off and get on with it. It can be really helpful. So then the next factor in these ripening results that are specific to a human life is drop dre, the environmental result. So the same deed, killing the ants, will bring a similar experience to me. It will contribute to the habit, and it will contribute to the environment that I experience around me, the physical environment, including the environment of the people in my world. So the very circumstances of life are driven by these seeds that we were planting in last life and every life before that. And if we're lucky enough to get a human life, then we can apply these correlations to be able to understand where things are coming from, but better to understand how to respond to the things that are happening. Because if we respond in the same old ignorant human way, we're just perpetuating the mistake. Whereas now we have this opportunity to respond in a different way. Okay? And maybe we need to try on different ones for size, but we'll get it right eventually. So drop dre means environmental result. Geshe-la said, if we live in a world with a lot of violence, our place is a dangerous place, it's a result of having killed in past lives. Right? The muggers in the big city are results of having harmed others in the past. Sexual misconduct results in living in a place that's smelly and filthy, where there's urine and feces all over the place. Right? There are correlations like this for each of the 10 non-virtues. And then you can take those and flip them around to see what our world would look like if our seeds were the 10 virtues. Geshe-la was pretty harsh here. He said, read the headlines tomorrow, and every one of them is a result of our own past deed and an opportunity to see what we need to stop doing if we're still doing, purify if we're not doing, and do the opposite of if we're not already. Okay, it's a clue. Buddha spent as much time teaching morality as he did teaching emptiness, as we see in the Lam Rim prayer. It's because things lack any nature of their own that morality is necessary if we want happiness. If we don't want happiness, no need for morality. Right? The bottom line is, if we want to be happier than we are, then it's up to us to change our choices of behaviors with others according to guidelines. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. So you have a homework that says, select 3 wrong deeds, 1 from each gateway, and explain the 4 consequences it will produce. The ripening result says any one of those 10 non-virtues could result in a hell realm, hungry ghost, or animal realm. And if I happen to get a human rebirth, then killing will bring me blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to read it to you. And then you'll see it in your reading and you'll see it in your student notes. I think there's a great synopsis of it in the student notes, which is easier to find than in the reading. So the consistent result for killing is your life is short. The consistent result for stealing is you don't have enough to live on. The consistent result for sexual misconduct is you have problems keeping your partner from others. Whether it means your sexual partner or your any other kind of partner, you have competition for them. The consistent result of lying is nobody believes what you say, whether you're telling the truth or not. The consistent result for divisive speech is you lose friends easily. The consistent result of harsh speech is you hear things as bad sounds, meaning, you know, there's harsh sounds around you, but also you hear people, you know, when they talk to you, it just sounds like they have a nasty tone of voice, or it's just unpleasant. For useless speech or idle speech, nobody listens to you. For coveting, jealousy, our personality is dominated by desire. For ill will, our personality is dominated by anger. And for wrong view, lokta, our personality is dominated by stupidity. Ouch. Then it goes into a little bit more detail from the chapter on the true and the sutra on the 10 levels, which are both Buddhist sutras that say that there are 2 consequences for each of the 10 non-virtues that happen even if we do manage to get a human lifetime. So these are similar to the list that I just gave you, the consistent consequence. But here it says you get 2 of them for each non-virtue. For killing, your life is short and you get sick easily. For stealing, you don't have enough to live on, and what you do have is all just common property with others. For sexual misconduct, the people who work around you are inconsistent, meaning unreliable, and you find yourself having competition for your partner. For lying, no one believes what you say, even when you're speaking the truth, and others are always deceiving you. For divisive speech, the people around you are always fighting against each other, and the people around you have undesirable characters. For harsh speech, result is we hear many unpleasant things, and when others talk to you, it always seems as if they want to start a fight. For useless speech, no one respects what you say. No one thinks that what you say has any particular value, and you are afflicted with a lack of self-confidence. So who would think that someone with low self-esteem, it's a result of useless speech? You know, and if you're the counselor and you're helping somebody with low self-esteem, it's like, would you just quit gossiping? That is not going to go over well. But as the counselor, right, you would be helping them weave their way. to see how their own behavior was trying to be meaningful or not, to help them gain their self-esteem. Versus, I don't know what you do to help somebody gain self-esteem in the psychology world, but my guess is it's not speak meaningfully. For coveting, jealousy, your personality is dominated by desire, and you're never satisfied with what you have. Curious. Ill will, you find yourself without help or never find the help you need, and you're always hurting others or being hurt by others. And then wrong view, you are a person who keeps harmful views and are deceitful. It's like, if you don't believe that your deeds are going to come back to you, then if, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're honest or integritous or deceitful, right? You wouldn't even see it as deceitful. You're just doing what you need to do to get what you want. So those are the results related to oneself. And then each of those 10 have results that we see in our outer world as well. And you could ripen seeds related to yourself from the category of lying and be ripening an environmental result related to coveting, right? They're not necessarily all happening in the same arena, if you will. So the environmental, also called the dominant consequence, each one of these 10 non-virtues has something that's unique, although we can see that they overlap. The environmental consequence of killing is that food, drink, medicine, crops in the field, other things have little power to help us. They're always inferior. Food has little nutrition or potency. It's hard to digest. They even cause disease. And because of this, the majority of living beings around us die before reaching a full life. Interesting, isn't it? With what we're seeing now. For stealing, because we have stolen, the crops are few and far between. They have no power to remove hunger. They spoil easily. They don't come up on time. Dry spells stay too long. Rains rain too much. The crops die off from either drying up or rotting. So this was all from an agrarian society. Now we can say grocery stores, right? Grocery stores don't have the things we need. What they have, you get them home, right? You buy that delicious fruit and you get it home and it's rotten inside. Things lie to us in that way. Or I'm sorry, they are, we can't get our needs met. We can't find the things we want. You know, our grocery stores in the US are like, you know, 50 different kinds of cereals and 35 different kinds of bottled water. And I walk up and down the aisles looking for like this specific peanut butter that has nothing but peanuts. And out of the whole grocery store, I can't find it. I can't find what I want in an entire Walmart. And it's like crazy, but I can't get my needs met. And it's a result of stealing. It's not that stupid Walmart. All it gets is things with sugar in it. You know, it's like wrong thought. So we can't get the things we need. Sexual misconduct. We live in a place where there's urine and feces all around, mud and dirt and filth, and everything stinks, and everywhere seems unpleasant and distasteful. And we've traveled in third world countries, and it's interesting how karma shifts when you supposedly cross a border. And our natural inclination is, what's wrong with these people? But it's not that, it's right coming from me. For lying, because we live in a world where when we undertake some kind of work in cooperation with others, in the end, the work fails to prosper. People can't work well together. For the most part, people are cheating one another. We're afraid, and there are things to be afraid of. Like, we live in a world of mistrust because of past lying. Divisiveness, our environmental result is the ground in the place you live is all uneven with crags and gullies, highs and lows, so that travel is difficult, and where you're always afraid, and there are things to be afraid of. From divisive speech, splitting people apart. Harsh speech, the ground we live is covered with obstacles like trunks of fallen trees, thorns and stones, clods of dirt, sharp things. It's rough and dreary, no streams or lakes or springs of water. The whole earth is parched, poisoned with salt and borax, burning hot, useless and threatening, and the place has lots to fear. Like the desert. It's like Arizona's desert is made of our harsh speech. Odd. Like all of us. Yeah, if we find the desert full of plants that want to hurt you, then it's a result of harsh speech. But the little squirrels, they can run all over that plant without getting prickled by it. They live in a desert, but not because of harsh speech. Useless speech. From meaninglessness, fruits refuse to grow on trees. They grow at the right time or at the wrong time. They seem ripe, but they're not ripe. Their roots fail. There are no places to take our leisure, no pools of cool water, and many things to make us afraid. Right? So like the environment around us is useless because of our useless speech. Then because we've coveted what others have, each and every good thing we ever managed to find gets worse and less and fewer and fewer. Each of the passing seasons, month to month, day to day, we have less and less because we've coveted what others have. With ill will, because of wishing bad on others, we live in a world of chaos where diseases spread and evil is everywhere, plague and conflict and fear of armies of other nations, where there are lions and tigers and bears, oh my, where everywhere there's venomous snakes, scorpions, poisons. You're surrounded by harmful spirits, thieves or muggers and the like. Results of ill will. You're in a world full of ill will towards oneself. And because we held wrong views, we live in a world where the single highest source of happiness is steadily disappearing from the world. A world where people think that things that are unclean, things that are suffering, are actually nice and sources of happiness. A world where there's no place to go, no one to help, nothing to protect you. And so a world where what we go to for entertainment is actually harmful, but we see it as entertainment. So when we think of our world in this way, like we can say, oh, okay, I'm seeing this because of that, which means I need to stop doing that and do more of its opposite. And we can go through each one of these and correlate it to our own immediate environment and what we're seeing globally, and decide how we want to go about changing our own behavior accordingly. It actually gives us a systematic, sequential way of approaching our own change. We can choose what we're seeing immediately around us to work with, or we can look at something huge and global to work with. But we're gathering enough information that we can start mapping out a change in behavior that we want to start applying. And we'll learn the rest of it as we go on with this course and the rest of ACI. So for your homework, you choose one of killing, stealing, or sexual misconduct. One of the speech ones, one of the mental ones, and you give this correlation of, if I do it in a big bad way, hell realm, hungry ghost, animal. If I happen to get a human life, then my personal result will be this and this. My environmental result will be this and this, right? For just one of body, one of speech, one of mind for your homework, and I think quiz. Got it? Okay. That makes your class 4. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. This class gives us a whole lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you, and then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it, and then carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. And to share it with every being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with wisdom, filled with loving kindness, shining it forth into their world. And may it be so. All right. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. Thank you for doing your papers. And this is Sunday. I will see you Thursday. Huh? Have a good week.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lama. Thank you very
Welcome.
much.
Take care. I love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.